We are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. It's Tuesday evening. I wanted to come live, see how y'all were doing. Kind of check in, see how y'all are doing. Answer some questions if you have any. Except that water bottle is almost empty, so we'll use this one. See if you had any questions. See how I can help. There's a lot going on. So, I just want to check on you guys. But I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. I own a boutique immigration law firm where I get to help people all over the country and internationally with their immigration issues. I work with businesses, making sure that everyone in their company has the right work authorization. And I work with the U.S. citizens to make sure that their spouses, fiancés, dependent children, and parents are able to get green cards. And we also do green citizenship applications. So I wanted to come on tonight, chat with y'all a little bit, see if you had any questions for me. There has been a lot going on in the past week or so. So really just an opportunity to check in. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you don't have any questions, that is okay as well. And then, can all hop off. I can go finish up I have a teeny bit of work to finish up tonight. That was on my to-do list for today for some folks. But let me know if you have any questions. I am here to be as helpful as I possibly can. We are still seeing the impact of some of the executive orders. We have seen some employment site raids that have happened. People have sort of just been anecdotally telling of stories in the circles that I run in. So, I just wanted to check in with you guys, see how you're doing. And I will say, I was talking about immigration today on a radio broadcast, and I cannot stress enough, truly, I cannot stress enough. If you have not had a conversation, if you've not had a consultation with an immigration attorney, and you want to know what your options are, please, please, please do not rely on your friend's brother, sister, and what happened with her case or her friend's case. Have a conversation, have a consultation with an attorney, an immigration attorney who understands the rules and the laws and can give you an honest opinion about what your options might be. That is invaluable. That conversation is absolutely invaluable. It's probably not going to give you all of the answers, right? But it will put you on the right path. It will get you, it'll help you take that first step. So if you haven't had a consultation with an immigration attorney, you're not quite sure what your options are, and you're guessing, right? Don't guess. Please don't guess. Make sure that you speak with someone who is knowledgeable. So with that's really just kind of my plug today. And I just really wanted to check in with y'all and see how you're doing. So we probably won't be on here long. I do have a couple things I need to finish up this evening, but what do we got here? If I get divorced while waiting for I-130 intent to deny, hold on. If I get a divorce while waiting for the I-130 intent to deny response, will case get canceled? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. If you get a divorce, can you reword your question for me? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. And I don't kind of want to guess. But I will say this. So reword your question and then I'll talk for a minute. If you get a notice of intent to deny and you do not respond, Well, first of all, if you get a notice of intent to deny, you have an opportunity to respond. If you don't respond, then they will cancel. They will deny your case. So that's kind of procedurally what happens with a notice of intent to deny. But I want to make sure that I really understand your question with the interplay of the I-130. But this is a great time for me to say I am an immigration attorney. I hop on here every so often and we talk and I give you some really general information. So while I am an immigration attorney, I am not your specific immigration attorney. So if you would like to become a client of the firm where I give you all sorts of legal advice and we work together, you can do that. We can set up a consultation for you and that's great. But while we're on here, this is just helpful information because I don't have nearly the amount of information I would need to give you very specific targeted legal advice for you. So just keep that in mind. I will scroll. Y'all know I'm a slow scroller. But I will see if I see that question sort of rephrased for me. Thanks for the hearts, guys. I really do appreciate it. Let me see here. Abrumi, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, is saying, as an elementary school teacher, we're so anxious about keeping our kiddos safe when with us. I cannot even imagine. You guys are truly on the front lines of this, and I couldn't even imagine. But I know the kiddos are in good hands with their teachers. And thank you for being concerned about your students. I know I have several friends that are teachers, and I know they're all really concerned about their kiddos. So it's you all are having and experiencing anxiety in a different way. Is trying to be prepared for something that may or may not happen. So I definitely appreciate that from all of my teacher pals. Right, I don't see that question reworded. So any other questions that you guys have for me this evening? I am happy to answer questions. Let's see what we got. And we are live on Instagram, YouTube channel, TikTok, and the Facebook group. Oh, okay. Here's the rewording of it. Will my case get stopped if I get a divorce, if I file for divorce? It kind of depends on where you are within your case. The Immigration Service understands that people get divorced, right? People get divorced every day. I think people say the divorce rate is 50% in this country. So people get divorced every day. So the Immigration Service understands that happens. It really depends on where within the cycle of your case you get divorced. That is really something that you should have a consultation with an immigration attorney about so that they can really, dig in and see where you are, what's happening with your case, where are you? There are, again, the Immigration Service doesn't expect people to stay married, right? Like they don't expect you to stay in a bad marriage just for the sake of getting a green card. So we want to kind of think about that. But let me say this about divorce. When your I-130, or when your green card has been approved, when your conditional green card has been approved, right? And it's valid for 2 years and you wind up getting divorced before you need to file to remove the conditions, that does not stop you from removing the conditions. You can absolutely remove the conditions if you have gotten a divorce. There is a specific waiver of filing together that is based on divorce, because again, the Immigration Service doesn't expect you always to stay married. They understand that divorces happen, and they can't force you to stay married. So just think about that. What do we have? Let's see here. Is it normal that I'm still waiting for my green card for marriage based since October 2021, still pending? Yeah, it is. Depends on, so the processing times depend on always what kind of case you filed and what office within USCIS is processing your case. So marriage-based green card case pending since October 2021 kind of doesn't surprise me, especially if you're in an office, if your case is being filed in a high volume local office that has a zillion and one cases. That doesn't surprise me. Everyone, however, needs to get ready for cases to take a little bit longer. There is a government hiring freeze based on the executive order issued last week that will absolutely have cases taking longer. But what you can also do is you can go to the USCIS website, scroll down, look for processing times, go to their homepage, scroll down, look for processing times. And if you click processing times, you can click on I-130, 485. You can click on the office that's currently processing your case, and it will tell you what roughly 80% of application types that are like yours are processing at. So yes, that is, sadly, that is not, that doesn't surprise me in terms of, the fact that you're still waiting. But if you're concerned about the fact that you're still waiting, and if you think you're outside of the current processing times, you can put in a request. You can do that online, and see. You can tell them that you think it's outside of the processing times. If it is, they will respond. Sometimes your response is not going to be fast. Like, let's be clear. Like, it's not going to be a fast, super fast turnaround time, but you will absolutely get a response from them. Can an EB3 professional green card leave their sponsoring employer to start a business on a different field? Pranab, I'm not sure if you're saying you're in the process of getting, I'm not sure if you're saying you're in the process of applying for your EB3 green card, so you're somewhere in that process, or if you've already received it. Here's the thing. I generally think there are two questions. And the two questions are, can you do something and should you do something, right? I say that all the time. Can you leave your sponsoring employer? Sure, right? Like, no, they can't, your employer can't force you to stay there and work, right? So yes, you can leave your employer. The better question is, should you leave your employer? And the answer to that is, I don't know, right? I don't know where you are in your process. At some point, if you are really towards the beginning of your process and you leave in your EB3, then you'll have to start that process all over again. So there are certainly different points within an employment-based green card process where if you leave your current employer, you don't have to start all over again. So can you leave your current employer? Sure, absolutely you can. Because no one can force you to work there. Should you leave your current employer? That is a much better question handled during a consultation where an immigration lawyer can ask you questions, understand exactly where you are in your process and what that would mean specifically for you should you choose to leave your current employer and start a business in a completely different field, right? So lots of things that need to be kind of considered there. So I hope that was helpful. And yeah, oftentimes the question is not can I, it's should I. There are a lot of things that we can do. But really the question is, should we do them? Let's see what we have. Someone is saying, does that mean the interview is waived or will I have an interview? So there, if a USCIS rep says the interview is waived, but the field office says waiting to interview, does that mean the interview is waived, or will I have an interview? So here's the deal with interviews now. I always tell my clients, we are going to prepare you for an interview. Always, always, always. Even when even when they were waiving interviews, like handing out candy to kids, right? Even when they were waiving them. I always tell my clients, we are going to prepare for an interview. I want you to mentally get yourself prepared for an interview. Some of my clients, the thought of an interview completely freaks them out, right? But I want you to prepare for an interview. And the reason I want you to prepare for an interview is because if you get an interview, then you're prepared. If you don't get an interview, it is a gift, right? It is a gift if you don't get an interview, and then you're all very excited and very happy when your green card just appears in the mail one day, right? So there may be sort of a change happening. I don't think that we're going to continue with a lot of interview waivers. That was a policy. It was not a rule. It was a policy that they came out with in order to get through the backlog. It takes time to have people come in and meet with an officer and go through the file and interview them. Like that just physically takes time. The new White House administration is concerned about security. So I really, and has an executive order surrounding enhanced vetting. I don't believe that a ton of interviews are going to be waived at this point. I think we are on the very, very, very tail end of having interviews waived. So I don't know what's going to happen in your case. I have no idea. I wasn't there when these things were said to you, so I have no idea. If I were you, I would prepare for an interview, right? And that way, if you get an interview, great, you're prepared. If you don't, gift, total gift, right? So just keep that in mind. But I always tell my clients when they work with me, we will be prepping your case and prepping you and getting you ready for an interview. Somebody asked if I would be coming on, and I can't exactly. Will you be continuing these lives for a while or just for now? My plan is to continue them for a while. To come in, check in with you guys, answer some questions, give you the latest updates. I have folks that are on my mailing list. They like to get the newsletter and read the updates. Some people follow me on social media. They prefer to get their updates sort of video fashion. So my plan is to continue doing the lives, as long as y'all keep coming and you enjoy them and you've got questions, I'm here to answer, and I'm here for the ride. So I hope that answers your question, Calico. What else do we have? I see my friend Nancy Prager just joined. Hey, Nancy. What do we have here? Do I know anything about parole in place for other situations on the I-131? So, my office doesn't really do a ton of parole in place. We do them very, very sporadically. So I don't really have the updated information for you on parole in place. For that, I would really have to kind of punt to a colleague who does parole in place like all the time. And I don't actually know that they're on live with me today. Sometimes they join, sometimes they don't. Someone is saying they received, I think this is a follow-up to the EB3 question, they received their green card about 5 months ago. Listen, your intent when you get your green card through an employer, or really through a spouse, is to stay with that employer or stay with that spouse, right? And that really needs to be your intent, throughout the application. But again, no one is going to tell you that you must work for someone, forever. Like that's just not how it works. I would, if I were you, if I were in your shoes, I would have a consultation with someone, an immigration attorney, employment immigration attorney, someone who works with, employment, immigration, and businesses all day, every day, and really sit down and have that conversation with them, so that you have some clarity around your desire to potentially leave your employer, start your own gig. What does that mean? What does that look like from an immigration standpoint? I think having a full consultation would give you some clarity in what you are thinking about doing, what you want to do. Should you do it? Should you not do it? All the things. Someone has just asked if I'm a lawyer. I am absolutely a lawyer. I have been a lawyer for 23 years, I think. Y'all, I'm a lawyer. Like, I don't do math. I think it's been like 23 years now. But yeah, I am absolutely a lawyer. I am licensed. I have been doing immigration for a while, for over 20 years. So yes, I appreciate that question. So thank you. I am, in fact, a lawyer. What does step 3 of 4 complete mean in the adjustment of status application? I know how I talk about my adjustment of status applications. I'm not quite sure what you mean by steps 3 of 4. I feel like I'm not quite sure where that language is coming from. Oh, thank you, Nancy. You're so nice. You're so fun. So I'm not quite sure what that language is. Step 3 of 4 in an adjustment application. So if you can kind of break down like what does that mean to you? Then I can, or what the actual wording is on, whatever notice you may be looking at, then I can kind of explain what the notice means, what it is, what might be next in your application process. But and to your point, I've been on the phone with clients, and I think I've broken it down. I'm like, hey, we got step 1, we got step 2, we got step 3. And then I always ask my clients if they have any questions, comments, or concerns. And one client said to me, okay, so on step 16, and I was like, oh, wow, I don't have 16 steps. So, you always have to kind of make sure that we're talking apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So if you can tell me what is the wording on step 3, then I can kind of tell you sort of the general meaning of it. Millie, you're asking, can I suggest? I just applied. Can I suggest what? Talk to me a little bit more about that. I'm a slow scroller, and tonight I'm sort of going up and down. Let's see here. What else? What else do we have here by way of questions? Yes, I cannot do math. I am very, very clear about that. Like, I don't math. I do not math. What other? Motivational Spot is asking, is it true that international students will get a green card after their graduation, especially STEM? So there was a lot of talk about this based on, I don't know if it was a social media post or sort of a comment during an interview. I can't remember. It was said while the president was on the campaign trail. I have not seen anything that says that so far. Like, I haven't seen any executive order. I haven't seen any policy changes. So I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that will happen. If it does, great. We'll see. We'll see what the rules surrounding that look like if that comes into play. But I haven't seen anything surrounding that. I think right now what we've seen is the president is very enforcement focused. And so giving international students green cards is not enforcement focused. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything to that. I haven't seen anything more beyond that initial statement that was made, or that sort of initial inference that was made kind of a while ago. So sorry, I don't have more on that. Let's see here. This is a great question, Wayne West. I've had 2 drug arrests, no convictions. Should I still consider filing my citizenship? The short answer is absolutely not, until you have a full consultation and a conversation and engage with an immigration lawyer who can look at the arrests, look at the sections of the law for the state or the federal charges, and then determine what, if any, impact there will be on a citizenship application. So unless and until you do that, I would say you walk into that naturalization application blind, and that is not a place you want to be. So before you file for your citizenship, if you have any sort of criminal background, whether it's state or federal or even from overseas, that has happened in between the time that you got your green card and the time that you are applying for citizenship, you want to talk with an immigration lawyer who can do that analysis for you. So again, question of can you do something versus should you do something? So I hope that's helpful. Millie, you have a question about lawyers that do parole in place. If you drop me a quick DM and just let me know that you are looking for a referral to a lawyer that does parole in place, and if you let me know what area of the country you're in, I will ping my colleagues and see. And I will be more than happy to send you their name. So if you just send me that DM, I can see if I know people that do it, but I'd like to find you someone that's closer to you if possible. If not, I'm happy to, give you someone that's not close to you. We all work with clients nationwide. I think this is sort of how about those with PhD working but without a green card? Are they going to get it? I don't actually know what you're asking. So if you can rephrase that would be super helpful. Let's see what else we have. This is a great question. Messy Fall, I believe is how you pronounce your name. Thank you for this. How long does it take USCIS to send you your green card after approval? Ideally, it's been taking, my clients generally got them in a couple of weeks. So it's usually a couple of weeks, but please don't freak out if it maybe takes like a month or so. Sometimes that happens, but yeah, it's usually just a couple of weeks. I've seen them come in pretty quickly lately, which has been nice. My mom just filed, this is coming from Topaz. My mom just filed for my younger siblings. Do you think they will get their citizenship anytime soon? I'm going to assume that she filed for their green cards. So it's going to take them quite a while to get their citizenship. They have to, in order to apply for citizenship, right, you need to apply for you need to have green card status first. You need to be a lawful permanent resident. So you get your lawful permanent residence first, then you wait. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, you wait 3 years. If you're not married to a U.S. citizen, you wait 5 years. So it really kind of depends on, I'm making a big assumption here that your mom filed for green cards for your siblings. So it will take them a while to get citizenship. What else do we have here? Thanks for the hearts, guys. You guys are so kind. It looks like we have a question over on YouTube. How long does it take to get a case number for an adjustment of status from USCIS lately? So your case number is also referred to as your receipt number. I'm seeing them come in like a couple of weeks at a minimum. Once we get the receipt notices, the receipt notice has the case number on it, has the receipt number on it. Now, there are some places that are a little bit slower to receipt cases in. So we were seeing a little bit of a backlog in that. That seems to be sort of resolving itself. So it's not taking as long as it was just a little bit ago. But generally, I see my receipt notices coming in a couple of weeks. So hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully yours is not kind of stuck out there somewhere. Dr. Andre Darby is asking, do you think there will be a freeze on green card applications? I like to say I have a crystal ball. It's, it's like kind of like my fake crystal ball, right? I don't foresee a freeze on green cards. I haven't heard anything about a freeze on green cards. There are many different categories where someone can get their green card. And so I don't see a wholesale freeze on green cards. I just don't see that. I don't see how legally you make that happen. But again, my crystal ball has been a little fuzzy. Some things have been super clear in it. Don't get me wrong. Some things have been super clear, but I haven't seen or heard any sort of rumblings about a freeze on green card applications. If there is a specific type of green card application you are concerned about, that would always be helpful to know. What I do see with green cards is a slowdown on them because of the executive order for enhanced security protocols, enhanced security vetting. So I see a slowdown in an increased backlog in the applications. I don't see them, kind of just going away. I don't see there being a wholesale stop on them. If you're talking marriage to a U.S. citizen, I don't see those being stopped. It's kind of the cornerstone of family-based green cards. Marriage to a U.S. citizen is considered an immediate relative category. Those cases are not part of the preference category. They're always current. So I don't see those stopping, to be very honest. But again, I've heard nothing. So I don't, again, my crystal ball has been a little fuzzy this past week and 2 days. So hopefully that's helpful. And frankly, hopefully I'm right. We'll see. What else do we have? This is a great question. Is it safe to travel with domestic flights with your work permit? This is a fantastic question, and it is, to me, an issue of can you versus should you? I have fielded this question from a client recently who has a green card, and who wants to travel. I can't. I'm not recommending that people travel right now. I'm just not. I'm not recommending that people get caught up in wrong place, wrong time scenarios. And that's just me. I think there are probably other attorneys who would tell you, sure, go ahead and try it, right? We'll see what we see. That's not my, that's not how I'm looking at it. I am telling my clients, don't travel right now. I mean, unless it is an absolute emergency and you are the only person that can be wherever it is that you feel like you need to go. But understand that there are risks associated with traveling right now. And so that is a very clear example for me of, can you take a domestic flight? Sure. Yes, you can absolutely buy a ticket, get on a plane and go. But should you, in the current climate and what's happening, I would err on the side of caution and say no. But again, I have colleagues who thoroughly disagree with me, and that is okay. That is a-okay, right? And colleagues that I love and respect, and we talk about, our different perspectives all the time. But my perspective right now is to sit tight where you are and kind of see what we see. So probably not the answer you wanted, but that's my answer. Hubs recently got a green card. We are terrified to lose it. Can we use photocopy versus hard copy? It depends on what you are using your green card for. I recommend that everyone get all of everyone across the board, like US citizens, not US citizens, folks that are here in status, folks that are here undocumented, absolutely everyone, myself included, should have all of your essential documents copied, digitized, right? Trusted family members or trusted friends should have access to those documents in case you get sick, right? I could get sick, right? Like, I want my family to know what they should, where these documents are, what they are, where they are, kind of thing. So this is just sort of life advice, right? This is just sort of me talking. This is not necessarily an immigration attorney. But people should know, like, trusted people in your life should have access to those documents, should know what those documents are, should know where they can find them, should know where they can find the originals and digitized copies. I'm a huge proponent of always having a digitized copy of things. We have seen some incredibly horrifying natural disasters recently. Floods, fires, hurricanes, paper and documents get destroyed, right? They do. That's just a fact. So you want to always make sure that somebody has access to those digital documents. If that somebody is you, if you're in a flood situation and you need to evacuate, if you're in a fire situation, hurricane, and you need to evacuate, you want to know that you at least have digital copies of them. So I am always telling my clients this: make sure that when you get your work authorization document, when you get your advanced parole, when you get your green card, when you get your citizenship certificate, make sure that you are making copies of these documents. So to your question of, can you use an original versus a photocopy, it completely depends on what you are trying to do, right? It completely depends on what you're trying to do. If you are starting a new job and you need to show that you have a green card, well, they need to see the original. They need to see your physical hard copy green card. So just I think that's something that, like, I just can't stress enough for people. Like, make sure that you have digital copies of your important documents, no matter what your status is, no matter where you were born, right? No matter where you're currently living. When should someone know the status? Have changed it if you married to citizen and you're an F1. So if you have had a life event that has changed your priority, your preference category, you can certainly send a note into USCIS and let them know, and they will then automatically upgrade your priority date or what have you. But yeah, you can certainly let them know that. Let's see what else we have. Someone is asking, DUI misdemeanor and I apply for VAWA, what happens? I don't know. My office doesn't handle VAWA cases. That is a question that you want to ask to an attorney that handles VAWA cases all day, every day. Nancy, I agree with you. It is very disheartening advice to, it's very disheartening to tell my clients that I don't think they should be traveling right now. But I just don't think they should be traveling. But I also, the other thing about me, y'all, is I also tell my clients, and and if you start to work with me, you will understand this. I always, at the beginning of a new client relationship, take a very conservative approach to how I handle the case and what the strategy is. Quite a bit of immigration is about your risk tolerance. So the question about should I travel, can I travel, is it best if I travel, should I do this, can I do this? All these questions, I can tell you all day long what I think, right? But it's really up to you to ultimately make the decision, right? It's completely up to you to make that decision. And that decision is based on your own personal risk tolerance, right? You have, if you're my client, we've gotten on the phone, we've exchanged some messages in your client portal, and you have all the information that you think that you need to make a decision, right? And that is my job, to help you and and give you that information, right? But at the end of the day, when you hang up the phone with me or we stop messaging in your portal, you make a decision, right? And some of my clients truly are like, Carol's being so conservative on this, we're gonna do it anyway, and that's fine. That is 110% fine, because you've made a decision based on information, right? And that's okay. That's completely okay. I have some clients that, I ask them in the beginning of the engagement, they do not like risk. They want no part of risk. I'm like, great. I totally get that. I have other clients that are like, oh, Carol, we don't care about risk, whatever, and my clients that tend to be a little bit more riskier are my entrepreneurs, right? Like there's a certain amount of risk that you're just okay with, that you just live with, that is just your adrenaline, right? And that's fine, right? But that is a question that I ask a lot of my clients. And that is why I often say it's not a question of can you do something? It's a matter of should you do something? And so baked in that should piece of the puzzle is, what's your risk tolerance, right? What is your risk tolerance? I have some clients that want to do everything possible to never get a request for further evidence. Sometimes that's impossible, right? But we can do whatever it is that we can do on the front end to try to, not have that happen. But yeah, I have clients that I've worked with in the past that would come to the US in student status, and they wouldn't leave the US again until they were green card holders. They did not like the thought of any risk. They did not want to leave the country. They did not want to hit a US airport. They did not want to hit an international terminal. They did not want to have to deal with a US consulate overseas and getting a visa. They did not want to have to deal with coming back into the country and dealing with CBP officers. And their friends who were international students with them and later worked alongside them, maybe at the same company, would come and go all the time. They were constantly in and out of the country, vacation, work, it didn't matter. So you kind of have to know your own risk tolerance, and the immigration process is a process that will help you figure that out fairly quickly. Let's see. My I-130 and 45 are still pending, but I have a real ID, traveling next month, and I'm nervous. I don't blame you for being nervous. I don't blame you for being nervous at all. I would, if you're not working with an attorney, I would recommend that you have a conversation with an attorney before you head to the airport and see what the current state of affairs is. I mean, that's really kind of all I can suggest. I ask my clients to let me know before they want to travel, so that we can, see if it makes sense for them, right? So that we can have that conversation. Is it a good sign if you weren't asked to do an interview for your process? This is coming from Jenny. It can be. It certainly can be. I'm assuming we are talking about a green card application. It certainly can be. I would love if my clients didn't have to do an interview, right? Usually, if my clients don't get an interview notice, generally they just get, in the past few years, they've just gotten a green card mailed to them. That doesn't always happen though, right? It could just be that they haven't pulled your case off the file in order to schedule you for an interview, and that's okay too. An interview is not like horrible, right? It's not. It is a natural part of the process. So that's why I always tell my clients, I would love it if we don't get an interview. I would love it if you just call me up one day, all super happy and screaming in my ear because your green card arrived. That has happened many times the past few years. It's great. I love those calls, but I'm also okay with getting an interview, right? An interview means that you get an opportunity to be in person, talk about your case with an officer, which really on the front end is what most people want to do. Most people are like, but can't we just talk to somebody, right? And so by the time we get to the end, people are like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want my green card. So it could absolutely be a good sign that you have not been asked for an interview. Yeah, it could be a really good sign. So we'll see. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate those kind words. Nancy and I work together and share a couple of clients, so that's always fun to work with friends and colleagues. But y'all, it is almost 9 o'clock. I'm not even quite sure how long I've been on. I told myself it would be for 30 minutes. Oh, it's been like 47 minutes, so I'm not too far off. I will be back live later. Let me check my calendar. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I will be back live tomorrow. Let me put it on my calendar right now. Go live. So I'll be back on tomorrow, probably between like 7:45 and 8 o'clock-ish, answering more questions, giving you the update, what's happening. If there's been anything significant that happens tomorrow, I will let you know that as well. Otherwise, we can just sit and chat like we do, like we have fun. So this has been awesome as usual. I love hanging out with you guys at night, but I am going to go get my dinner and stay safe. Try to keep your anxiety levels low. We're all kind of doing what we can do. I will chat with you all tomorrow evening. Bye.